Good evening, Sydney. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, very good.
Yay.
All right. Well, I was sitting here waiting. We'll kind of maybe give everybody else just a few minutes to catch up. Sorry, my computer's there we go. Um, so I don't think I've met you on one of these Zooms before. Have you been to one of these study groups yet?
No, I haven't. I
Okay.
got invited by Jessica, I believe, like 2 weeks ago, but I've had work and I'm moving back to Minnesota tomorrow. So lots of,
Fun.
yeah.
Fun. Moving, love to move. Not at all. Perfect. Well, have you started studying and taking your classes yet?
Yeah, I'm like 50% done, I think. So
Fantastic.
yeah. But
Good.
I'm doing mine through the CE shop
Okay.
and I did the first course and then it said like you could take your exam, but you need to take course 2 and 3 before you can get like your license. Is that
Yep.
correct? Do you recommend
Yes.
finishing course 2 and 3 before the exam, or what are your thoughts?
Yeah. I recommend at least starting and getting about 50% through course two at least.
Okay.
If you are studying at a good pace and getting through stuff pretty quick, you could probably finish course two.
Okay.
But there is stuff on the exams that you will need that you don't learn until course two.
Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah. So it used to be that you could take it after course one, and I did when I got my license. But it's different now. They've changed a few things around. So
That's good to know.
yeah.
So I was like, wait, I can take my exam? Like, what? But I still.
Yeah. Yeah. Course three, definitely you want to wait. And do that one after. It's just got stuff that you don't need to
Okay.
fill your head with yet. Like how to grow your business,
Mm.
some about contracts, things like that. Ethics that they don't, excuse me, that they don't ask you about on the test.
Okay.
So don't worry about that stuff yet.
Okay. That's really good to know. So
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
the exam, how do you think it's best to study? Because I took like my sweet time on course 1, and so I feel like I like understand it decently well. And when I took the
Okay.
practice test without like studying at all, I got like 65 or 68%. So I
Okay.
feel like once I feel like pretty good about it. But
Mhm.
do you have any like tips or like kind of how the test is laid out?
Yeah, so it's all multiple choice. And tips, we kind of go over a bunch of tips while we study here,
Oh, perfect.
of like little tricks and whatnot to either figure out what we're looking for or things like that. So I'm trying to also like sit up, but my dog is in my lap. Um, Beyond that, I would just say flashcards
Okay.
and practice exams at this point.
Okay.
If you don't have flashcards, just read through the glossary. It sounds really silly, but just like skim the bold words, and the ones that you can't recall right away, just study those.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that would be kind of where I would start. And then just come to these as much as you can. Um, Sometimes we go over math. We will do national, we'll do state stuff just as a way to kind of divide it up and break it up. But if you have an exam coming up, the nice part is usually there's more people here. But the nice part is we all kind of band together. So if one person's got stuff or a question on something, it doesn't really matter what subject is being studied that night. We always will take that question and study that.
Oh, super cool. So
Yeah.
I saw that I have to fill out like a form to schedule a test. Is it like backed up, or is it like kind of you plan when to do it, or how does that work?
You decide. I don't know if it's backed up or not because I'm part of the Keller Williams
Mm-hmm.
brokerage, not the testing stuff.
Okay, sounds
So
good.
I'm an agent. That's what I do. I'm just helping people study, not actually part of the rest of it.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So what do you have any questions as of right now?
Um,
Since it looks like it might just be you.
I think maybe going over some of the math stuff,
Okay.
those type of concepts might be good, because I think those are the
Yeah.
ones that I think those would be the best for me to practice right now.
Yeah. So math is great. We do that every second or third week.
Okay.
Just because then we get on a big whiteboard and we can go over a few of them today. For sure. But the easier part is to actually just do it
Mhm.
at the brokerage on a big whiteboard and everything.
For
That
sure.
way I can, show everybody what's going on. Because here I'm like, oh, I don't know, yeah, carry the one. I'm like, great, lost. So, but do you have any math concepts that I can help you with right now that you for sure need help with? Because I can do my best.
Do most people pass the test on the first time, or is it like a reoccurring test, or?
It is so different for everybody that I wouldn't even know how to answer that. My goal is to make sure people pass on the first test. So I will actually, when you go ahead and schedule your licensure test, let me know, because I can go ahead and actually go over and give you an hour or so. We can go over stuff and make sure that you're ready.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Let's see.
If you don't have anything, I can find a couple of things for sure. But
Yeah, maybe find some, because I can't think of anything
Yeah.
specific. I just have a feeling that's stuff I might get tripped up on.
not a problem. All right, which book is it in? Bear with me. Okay, here we go. All right. So this is what gives a lot of people trouble. Let me find a question here. Maybe. Okay. So the most important stuff that you're going to be dealing with is going to be mortgage payments. Now, typically that's going to be the lender. So I will, the way that we normally go is I will tell you what the book says and how they want you to do it. And then I'll also tell you like what actually happens in the real world, because it's not always the same. We just find that, sorry, I have sparkling water and it's giving me hiccups. I'm sorry, it usually doesn't.
You're good.
So I'll always kind of go over the same thing, but in terms of mortgages, your clients are going to ask you about interest rates and payments and things like that. You're going to want to be able to speak at least somewhat to them. More often than not, I will actually just tell them to call their lender when they have questions about any numbers, mostly just because interest rates are changing so much on a daily basis. And I don't know what their interest rate is going to be based on their credit and all of that. So I just tell them to call their lender. However, when they have specific questions and they want somebody to dumb it down for them, you're going to want to be able to speak to that. So have you ever seen an amortization table or schedule?
I saw it in my course, but that's it. And in accounting, like.
Okay. So basically what it does is it breaks down the payments. So it'll have payments 1 through 700 and whatever for the 30-year loan. Okay. It'll have it has it in 3 columns. There's payment 1. So it'll say like first payment, let's say $1,000, just round number, $1,000 for a payment. 900 of that is interest and $100 goes towards principal.
Mhm.
And then it'll break it down that way for every single payment throughout the whole thing. Amortization schedules end up, as you saw, being 10, 15 pages.
Mhm.
Can be pretty long. That helps. What we want to make sure is that we explain that the bank always gets paid first, right? The bank is going to make their interest payments first over the principal amount. It just is how it is, right? Just like a car. If a client, let's say, is like, okay, well, my payment is $1,000. I want to put 1,500 down every month. That extra 15, you'll have to tell them specifically to put that towards the principal. Otherwise, they're just going to put it towards the next month
Mhm.
automatically, thinking like, oh, they just paid us a little extra in January here for February. Well, no, because what happens is the interest actually goes off of the schedule. That is what it is. But if you can pay off the principal faster, you end up paying less interest over time. So that's a very highbrow view of that.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of other stuff. I'm still looking for questions here as well. How do you feel about like percentages and things like that? Switching a finding percentages of
The point thing.
Mhm.
Could you explain just that concept?
Yes. So buying a point is essentially paying interest in advance so that you don't pay it over time on the loan.
Mm.
So if somebody says I paid a full point, each loan it's not a set amount, right? It's not $500 and you paid a point. 1 point is 1%. So
Mhm.
typically it's a part of a point that they're paying.
Okay.
I believe. Yeah. And so what happens is right now, I will be honest, most people are not paying points because it doesn't make sense.
Okay.
But back when interest rates were 18%, people were. It helps lower the interest rate because over time, 3% interest rate, you end up paying quite a bit. Where if you just paid the $700 today, that's it. You end up paying $700.
Mm. Okay.
Does that kind of
Instead of it like compounding. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. My notes.
How do you feel about commissions and that? Like figuring out your commission?
Maybe go over that. I feel like there's no harm in going over anything.
Yeah, not a problem. So and that is pretty basic math actually. So when we're looking, so each commission is negotiable, correct? There's no set commission for anything. You and your buyer come up with a percentage that they are going to pay you. Now, so there's no official industry standard or anything, but there is a common number that everybody typically uses. Around here it's 2.7%. And actually, as a selling agent for our brokerage, that's a requirement, is that we pay out 2.7%. We're not allowed to pay anything less.
Okay. Could you pay more?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So what happens, how a buyer gets paid, a buyer's agent gets paid is actually from the selling agent, from the listing agent. Okay. So the listing agent tells the seller, hi, I'll represent you. I'll sell your house. You'll pay me. And I'm going to use round numbers just so it's easy. 10%. 10% is very high. Most often it's 6%. Okay. 10%. Okay, great. They say yes. And what happens is that 10% actually gets split. So the listing agent gets typically a little bit more. Let's call it 6%. He gets home to take home 6%, while he offers 4% to the buyer's agent. Well, we know that to list a home, there's other expenses. So everything that he's put forward, photographer, stager, all of that, gets paid out of that percentage
Mm.
eventually, right? Just like profit and loss, but normal business. The buyer's agent gets paid, like I said, from that 4%, that goes to the buyer's agent, and typically that gets split with the brokerage.
Okay.
Now, if the selling agent, let's say for some reason, I'm not paying the full 4%, and you, as the buyer's agent, have a contract with your buyer saying, I get paid 4% for my services. What would happen is, let's say I, as the listing agent, only pay 2%.
Mm-hmm.
You can then turn around with your contract and ask your buyer to cover the extra 2%.
Mm.
Okay.
Is that common?
No.
Okay.
No. The reason why most buyers agents, when they sign a contract with their buyers, we put 2.7% because that's kind of an unwritten standard that people do around here for the market. And so that's just kind of what we expect. Now, there are agents out there that are doing 2% or 2.5, and we can ask our clients to cover the extra percentage, but sometimes it's not that much money.
Right.
You know, do you really want to sound like you're nitpicking over $100?
Right.
You know, could you? Yeah, and according to the contract, you could.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really want to? That's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I typically ask for a referral then.
True. So you're saying if you ended up only getting like 2.5, just most people would probably say kaposh to like the 0.02 difference.
Most, yes. Now, is that you? That's up to you.
Right.
Some agents might tell you differently and go, nope, that's how you make millions, is by counting the pennies.
Yeah.
It really ends up, like I said, up to you. If this is a client that, let's say, you don't want to hear from them again ever, never, sure, why not?
Mm-hmm.
I would rather have a referral though, right? So to get that math, this is where this is tough. So basic math, you take the cost of the home.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call it 500, again, rough numbers, $500,000.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then the selling agent would figure out, well, no, I'll back up. Based on the percentage that your commission that you'd be getting paid, let's call it the basic 2.7%. What you're going to do is you're going to take whatever that percentage is multiplied by the home percentage, or not home percentage, home price. Do you know how to turn a percentage into a decimal?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
So I would take the 2.7% times the 500,000.
Yep.
And then that's what the buyer's agent would get?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
And then, okay, I see. But then the seller's agent would get
Whatever he negotiated. Yep. So typically it ends up typically it's 6% around here. It's kind of standard.
Mm-hmm.
So the listing agent gets 6%. 2.7 of that 6% goes to the buyer. So 3.3 goes to the selling agent.
Okay, that makes sense. Because when I was studying it in my mind, I was like, so the buyer's agent doesn't get anything? I was like, that's kind of confusing. But
Yeah.
okay, makes a lot more sense.
Perfect. Good.
Awesome.
What else do you want me to go over? And actually next week will probably be a bunch of math. So if you're in Minnesota near Burnsville, stop by, because you can actually come into our training room and be right there in person.
Okay, you said next Tuesday at Burnsville?
Yep. And then I'll actually give you my phone number and email as well at the end. Actually, I'll just pop it in the chat now. And when you get there, just feel free to text me.
Okay, that's actually my birthday, so I might be at dinner with my family.
Oh. Well,
But-
happy birthday. Good.
But these are recorded, right?
Yes.
Okay, so maybe I'll just for the link and I'll watch that then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, go enjoy your birthday for sure.
Yeah, okay.
Perfect. What other questions do you have? Otherwise, I can find a few. But like I said, I always like tailoring it, especially if you're the only one on here.
Right.
I'm looking through my books to find some math stuff here that isn't too difficult over Zoom. Okay.
On the exam, does it ask a lot about like calculating spaces and stuff like that, like the perimeters and areas and lot sizes?
Not typically. That for sure is best done when I can map it out for you. So I'll
Mhm.
show you how to do that. I haven't heard of a lot of people having to do that on the test. Typically what they'll ask is like, how many acres in a square mile?
Right.
And in section 4 of district, whatever, the blah, 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 how many acres is in that
Mhm.
section, things like that. Is more along the lines of what they do with things like mapping. They could ask you for like the square footage of a property. I have seen that, but they typically don't say like, okay, well, it has this many square feet. What's the
Right.
perimeter or something? Just because there's a lot that could go, think that gets complicated very quickly. No, I apologize. Most people avoid math, so I just wasn't prepped for it. But
This is my first time on, so I was like not really sure what to expect, but I think what will be good for next time is when I like go through my notes, I'll write down questions I have so then I can be more prepped to bring some questions as well.
Yeah, do that. Usually, like I said, we usually have some other people here too. And they'll have questions, or a lot of times we'll also discuss things that pop up during our discussion of like, well, hey, you mentioned this word or whatever. I don't understand what that is. And so we have a discussion about that stuff too. Okay. We just talked about commission. Okay. So have you read about like a loan to value ratio or anything like that?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Okay.
Maybe.
No, that's okay. So that deals with all of the interest around what we were talking about earlier about the amortization. Okay. Figuring that out. I will go more in depth on that, but take a look at something like that. Essentially what you're going to do is you're going to figure out what the loan amount is versus and the loan to value ratio and the sales price. So you'll need those 3 numbers, and that's how you get what people are paying either in interest or so forth. That way when a client asks, well, how much interest am I paying over the term, you can actually tell them.
Okay, yeah, I found that right here.
Okay, yeah, just read that, see if that makes sense to you, because that'll be an important one.
I wrote down the loan amount divided by 1,000 times the factor from the chart equals a monthly payment. Is that the
That is your monthly principal and interest payments. So your monthly, that would be specifically, that one is your monthly PI payment.
Okay. And then what was the one that you said?
Loan to value, LTV.
Okay. Oh, loan to value. Okay. Loan amount divided by property value times 100. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. It isn't necessarily 100.
Okay.
The 100 is based on the 100% should be the loan to value ratio. And so that's what you want to end up finding out.
Alright.
I'll show you how to do that one.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. The other thing is, the nice part is I'm able to like bring real world examples too.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, take a look at some of that stuff and I will have more math problems, like I said, next week.
Okay.
We'll talk about proration and everything too.
What's like a common thing that other like students that have come on have like had questions about that you guys have gone over recently?
Title work.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
going over title and title transfers, deeds, things like that. Really making sure you understand joint tenancy versus tenancy in common, and title and severalty, and then the processes that go through those things as well.
Okay.
That's a tough one for people to kind of wrap their head around.
Mhm.
Mostly because it's not anything that we deal with. We deal with it once in our life, maybe when we buy a house, and that's it.
Okay. I remember it was talking about with the title where there's like a break in it or something, or it's not
Okay.
like, or there's not like maybe there was like like ownership was lost or something.
Yeah.
Like what's the import? Is it just so that when the next person buys it, it's a lot easier when it's like a fluid title, like they can they have all the information?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep. So the importance behind knowing exactly who went from where to where
Mhm.
is to make sure that it is a clean title.
Mm-hmm.
The importance behind a clean title is to make sure that nobody else can claim any ownership to that property.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a cloud on a title, do you know what a cloud is?
Yeah, I have it right here.
Okay, perfect. If there's a cloud on a title, what can happen is people can come and dispute ownership. Well, you're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars
Mm-hmm.
that somebody could have paid somebody who might be long gone
Mm-hmm.
and just sold a bogus house. That's why we need to make sure that all titles are clean and clear before we close.
So if your client liked a house but it didn't have a clean title, would you refer them to probably look at a different property? Or because it says here it can be removed, like a cloud on a title can be removed with a quitclaim deed?
Yep, it depends on what the cloud is. Typically a quitclaim deed would just be to have whoever's name is on there just say, yep, I'm good, I don't want anything to do with that property. There might be something else too. A cloud isn't necessarily just somebody on there.
Mm-hmm.
That's the most common though. I know we find what happens with titles is that we find this information out after we're pending, after we've gone through inspection, things like that. We have a closer, it's a title company. Our client pays for title insurance to make sure that anything that they've done is guaranteed. Meaning, if somebody in 5 years from now comes to me and says, hey, by the way, you bought this house, it's actually mine and I want it.
Mm-hmm.
I can go to my title, excuse me, title company, you said I was free and clear, fix this.
All right. Okay.
So you have title insurance. with that, the title company works to rectify any issues before you close.
Okay.
If they can't fix something like that, then they will come to you and say, hey, we recommend not closing yet because we can't figure this out.
Okay.
Usually if they can't figure it out, it's either the seller is being uncooperative or there's something bigger that probably needs to deal with an attorney.
Gotcha. So does every house get title insurance?
Typically, yeah. For the thing, title insurance is a one-time payment. Usually it's $100, couple $100 to guarantee that there's a clean title.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's one of those like, well, you just buy it because, well, you do.
Gotcha.
My dog moved. I'm moving. Hold on. I mean, you can keep talking, but
Oh, could you go over deed tax?
yeah. So, for in each county is a little bit different in terms of deed tax. Usually what happens is it's by the thousand. I can't remember now off the top of my head. I can find it more information for you. But what happens is that is paid at the closing. Basically, that's the county going, since it's switching hands, we want our share.
Okay.
That's the easy to understand way. That's how I explain it to my clients. But yeah, it's essentially pennies on the dollar that you end up paying. Yeah, sure, it ends up, let's say $500 on a house, but that's part of the cost of buying a house.
Perfect.
I think if I remember correctly, it's 33 cents per every $1,000 right now.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Okay. The nice part is once you actually get into this, you get to have all of this stuff on like a nice little cheat sheet on your desk.
Okay, that's what I figured. I feel, those type of things, but
a lot of this you won't actually ever have to deal with.
Isn't that funny? I'm like, really?
The number of times you're like, do I really have to know this? I'm like, well, for the test, yes.
Yeah.
Like, oh, but what about in real life? I'm like, you need to know it for the test.
It's like when you're driving a car. I remember my dad would be so specific on stopping, like all the way through at every stop sign, and I'm like, but they didn't do it, and he's like, they have their license, you don't, and I was like,
right. but yes, yep, same thing here. That's so funny. My dad would say the same thing. So you said you're moving back to Minnesota now.
Yeah. So
where are you moving from?
Colorado. So I went to college here. I graduated last spring, and I've just been like hanging out, working, figuring out what I want to do. Did not think of real estate when I graduated. I graduated with business management and entrepreneurship.
Got it.
Started interviewing with some corporate businesses, was like, this is not my jam. And then I did an internship in Hawaii for fun this fall, and my mentor is a realtor out there, and I'm a question asker, so I was just like picking his brain, and then hard, I was like, wait, I think I want to do this. And so then
this sounds like fun
and right up my alley. And so I looked more into it, and I was like, I'm gonna do it. So
good for you.
And yeah, really excited. I have a bunch of different meetings set up for when I move home and all the things, so I'm excited.
Fantastic. Well, so first, are you in Hawaii right now?
No, I'm in Colorado.
Okay, where in Colorado?
Fort Collins.
Okay, I used to live in Manitou Springs, right outside of Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
And my mom grew up in Colorado Springs, so
okay, super cool.
Love Colorado. I would move back in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Minnesota.
What's that?
Do you move to Minnesota?
Actually, I was born and raised here.
Okay.
I moved after college for about a year and a half or so, because I was gonna live in the mountains. Yeah. And then real world hit, and I was like, well, I miss family and home, and living on your own is tough.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I just moved home and went from there, and it was perfect actually. So.
Yeah. Awesome. I think yeah, maybe in the future move somewhere new, but I like love Colorado. But I'm also like, it'd be cool to try a different state too, because I've lived here for the past 4 years, but we'll
Mhm.
see.
So how come Minnesota?
I grew up in Minnesota, so all my family lives out there. So I'll be moving
Okay.
in with my parents. I as well. Real world hit me after my internship, and I was like, huh, like college loan is coming up. Like paying not paying rent kind of sounds nice. So
Right. That was my thing coming home. I'm like, I would really love to not have to pay rent and my car insurance and all of the stuff.
yeah, and so
Hmm.
for like a year, it wouldn't be too bad. And my parents are like, we would love to have you back. So
There we
yeah.
go. Perfect.
And I feel like it's a really big blessing because starting real estate, like some people might not be able to financially, if they weren't able to like
Mhm.
get paid in however many months. And
Yep.
so I'm really thankful that I do get to start this way because I'm like, I don't really have any like financial, like bigger financial obligations like rent to pay. So
Right.
that's a really big blessing. But
Well, do whatever Jessica tells you
okay.
because she's amazing
Okay.
and she will have you making money in a month.
Okay. That's good to know. Yeah,
So
I'm like interviewing, talking with like all the different brokers, all the different teams, all the different
yep.
things. Just because I'd rather say like I got info on all of them and then
Yeah.
chose the best because I feel like it truly is like the decision where it's like you make the decision and then your career starts and like you probably won't leave, hopefully. And so maybe
That's the hope. I always say that's the hope, right? Is to not leave and find your home right away. I did, and it was amazing. Because Keller Williams was they taught me everything I needed to know, how to
Mhm,
write a contract, things like that, and nobody else really had that
yeah.
available for me when I started.
Mhm,
Um, but yeah, that is hope. Now, with that being said, there are agents who flop brokerages
mhm,
every other year.
yeah.
So don't feel like you just because you're in one spot doesn't mean you can't move.
Right.
People do it all the time.
And
Just
John,
keep your phone number.
are you on someone's team?
Yeah, I'm on the Herd Camp Home Group.
Okay, cool.
So we've got about 15 agents, and last year we did just over 400 homes. Yeah.
Wow, that's super cool.
So it's awesome. The support is fantastic.
And you like
Um,
team?
yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah. I need a team aspect. I grew up playing sports, and so I need to feel like I can't let my team down because real estate is you have to be a self-starter.
Yeah.
You just have to be. And when you sit there and go, well, I don't want to today. I just don't wanna.
Mhm.
Well, if all of a sudden I look in the mirror and I'm like, you're gonna let your team down. Okay, I can't do that.
Yeah,
So
true.
yeah, it's motivating, but
That's
yeah.
awesome.
What other questions? I want to make sure I get your questions. Otherwise, I can let you go too.
Yeah. Okay, I think I'll look through my notes and when I'm gonna like really heavily keep chugging along with the rest
Yeah.
of the course too. I'll be sure to write down questions because I feel like right now when I've been going through the course, I haven't had like anyone to process it with. So I've
Yeah.
just like taking notes and being like, well, I'll review it later and hope I
I'll
understand it.
figure it out.
This will be
Yeah.
helpful, especially once other students come on, like getting a chat with them. I think it'll be
Hmm.
really, really good to hear it. So I appreciate
Perfect.
um the last 45 minutes. That was great.
Absolutely. If you have questions during the week that you just can't get out of your head,
Mhm,
in the chat I put my email as well as my phone number. Feel free to text me, call me.
mhm,
Um, if you call, I can't guarantee I'll answer just because I work. Um, but I will always answer a text and
mhm,
then get back to you as fast as I can.
mhm.
Because sometimes it's going to sit in your head and bug you and you can't move on. And I'm that way. And so if it's sitting there bothering me, I'm going to not be able to move forward.
Yeah,
So just let me know. I'm happy to answer whatever you've got. That's why I'm here. That's why I do this.
awesome. I appreciate it. Well, I'll be on. Okay, I can't guarantee I'll be on or in the building in Burnsville on Tuesday, depending
That sounds good.
but the following week, and I'll be sure to text you with any questions.
Absolutely. Text me, let me know. And if you're dying and you're like, I really want to be there for the math portion, we can always, nobody's going to complain. We can always push math back a week too. So you just let me know if that's something that would interest you.
Okay, I'm like, maybe I'll text you just so you have my number and then keep you updated on if I'll be there or not.
Sounds good. I mean, I'm like I said, I'm always in the office too. I'm happy to sit down with you. So feel
Okay.
free to just go, I need this math stuff figured out. I'm getting nervous. Come on in.
Okay.
It's just
Awesome.
easier in person.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Bye, Sydney. It was nice meeting you.
Bye.